Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Learn and Talk English podcast. I'm Emily.
And I'm Marcus. Great to have you all here today.
Absolutely, Marcus. Today we're diving into a really important topic, practical strategies to achieve English fluency.
Yes, it's a topic that's crucial for learners at all levels. Everyone dreams of speaking English fluently and confidently, but sometimes it's challenging to know exactly how to get there.
Exactly. And that's why today we want to share with you some very practical, easy-to-follow strategies. Marcus, let's kick things off by talking about one of the essential points that Maria highlighted, finding the right balance between consuming and producing English.
Yes, Emily. Many learners often focus heavily either on consumption, like listening and reading, or on production, such as speaking and writing. The real trick here is to find that sweet spot between the two.
That's a perfect analogy. Imagine watching cooking shows endlessly without ever stepping into the kitchen yourself. You might learn a little bit, but you'd never truly become a chef.
That's right, Emily. So listeners, remember not only to consume English through movies, podcasts, and books, but also to actively produce it by speaking and writing daily, even if it's just a little bit each day.
Another strategy Maria shared that really stood out to me was narrating your daily life in English. Marcus, have you ever tried doing that?
Actually, Emily, I have. At first, it felt a little weird walking around saying, "Now I'm making coffee," or "I'm checking my emails." But after a few days, it started to feel natural, and it really helped speed up my thinking in English.
Totally agree, Marcus. Narrating your daily activities is a fantastic way to naturally build vocabulary and grammar. It forces you to think directly in English, skipping the whole translation process from your native language.
Talking about vocabulary, Emily, let's not forget the classic, but highly effective strategy of keeping a vocabulary diary.
Oh, absolutely. Every time you encounter a new word, jot it down along with a definition and an example sentence. Trust me, it's incredibly satisfying to see your vocabulary expanding every week.
Yes! It provides tangible evidence of your progress, and that's really motivating. Emily, let's also talk a little bit about pronunciation, because Maria mentioned something very interesting. Practicing pronunciation can boost your listening skills.
Yes, Marcus. By focusing on pronunciation, you become more tuned in to subtle sound differences, significantly improving your ability to understand spoken English, especially in real conversations.
Exactly. And one method Maria highly recommends is the shadowing technique, repeating after native speakers to mimic their pronunciation, rhythm, and intonation. I've personally found this technique to be incredibly effective.
So true. Shadowing not only enhances your pronunciation, but also helps you build confidence to speak clearly and fluently in various contexts.
And speaking of contexts, Emily, another great suggestion from Maria is practicing role-playing different scenarios. This method allows you to rehearse specific vocabulary and grammar structures you'll need for real-life interactions.
Absolutely. Practicing dialogues, whether it's ordering at a restaurant, attending a job interview, or chatting casually with friends, prepares you perfectly for those real-world interactions.
Emily, all these strategies are incredibly useful, but we shouldn't overlook another crucial factor: mindset. Maria mentioned that discipline is more reliable than motivation, and that really resonated with me.
Yes, discipline is key. Motivation can fluctuate, but if English practice becomes part of your daily routine, it soon becomes second nature. And remember, embracing your mistakes as part of the learning process is absolutely essential.
Exactly. Mistakes are not setbacks. They're stepping stones toward fluency. Embrace them, learn from them, and keep moving forward.
Beautifully said, Marcus. And that's a perfect note to wrap up this segment.
Definitely. Now, listeners, don't go anywhere. Coming up next, Maria is going to share an inspiring story about one of her students who applied these exact strategies and dramatically improved his language skills.
Yes, and after that, our linguistic experts Olivia and Jack will join us for a deeper expert discussion on today's topic, providing their professional insights and advanced tips.
And before we go, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Make sure you comment down below with your favorite strategies, like the podcast. And don't forget to subscribe for more valuable English learning tips.
Yes, your support means so much to us, and we look forward to reading your comments.
Until then, keep practicing, keep learning, and keep talking English.
Happy learning, everyone. See you soon.
Thanks, Emily and Marcus. Welcome back, everyone. I'm so happy you're still with us. I want to share an inspiring story about one of my students named Quang, who comes from Vietnam. Quang was always an exceptional student when it came to consuming English. He was incredibly diligent, mastering grammar rules, acing quizzes, and memorizing extensive vocabulary lists. However, Quang faced a common challenge. He would memorize many words, but quickly forget them. Despite knowing the rules, he struggled to confidently speak or apply his vocabulary during conversations. One day, Quang and I sat down for a talk, and we discussed many of the strategies Emily and Marcus mentioned earlier, like balancing consumption with production, narrating daily activities, using the shadowing technique, and maintaining a vocabulary diary. Initially, Quang was a bit skeptical, but he decided to give these techniques a real chance. Quang started narrating his daily routine out loud in English. He made breakfast in English, commuted in English, and even described his evening walks in English. He began shadowing podcasts and movies, repeating phrases and sentences right after native speakers. And importantly, he kept a detailed vocabulary diary, noting new words, definitions, and examples every single day. The transformation was amazing. After just a few months, Quang's confidence soared. Not only was he remembering vocabulary, but he was also effortlessly using new words and expressions in his conversations. His English became more fluent, natural, and spontaneous. This significant improvement allowed Quang to pass his TOEFL exam successfully, a crucial step that enabled him to pursue his dream of studying abroad. Watching Quang's progress was incredibly rewarding, and his story is a powerful example of how effective these strategies can truly be. I encourage you to apply these techniques in your English learning journey. Please comment below and let us know if you've experienced similar challenges or successes. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our podcast for more valuable English learning content. And please stay tuned. Up next, Olivia and Jack, our linguistic experts, will dive deeper into today's topic, providing professional insights and advanced tips. Make sure you listen to the entire podcast and come back multiple times to truly master all the wonderful vocabulary, phrases, and strategies we've shared today. Thanks again for joining us. Let's keep learning and talking English together.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Learn and Talk English podcast.
Hi there. Great to be with you all.
Today, we're going to take a really thorough look at some, practical and effective ways you can improve your English speaking skills.
Yes, and build a stronger vocabulary, too, and hopefully feel more confident when you're actually having conversations in English.
Exactly. It doesn't matter where you are on your learning journey, beginner or more advanced. We think we've got some valuable insights for you.
Absolutely. And we really do encourage you, if you can, listen to this discussion maybe more than once.
Good idea.
Take your time, maybe jot down any new words or phrases that stand out to you.
And pay attention to pronunciation too, right? That's key.
Oh, definitely. Pay close attention to how things are pronounced.
Yeah.
And most importantly, try to apply these techniques, maybe step by step.
Yeah, little by little.
Consistent effort in these areas, it really can make a big difference. Trust us on that.
It really can. So keep listening because we'll be sharing some key strategies for getting past those moments where you hesitate. Building up a consistent study routine, which is sometimes the hardest part.
It really is.
And just making real, tangible progress in your English learning.
Right. And, one question that comes up constantly, I hear it all the time from English learners, is how can I become more fluent?
Ah, yes, the big F word. Fluency. It's what everyone wants.
It is. It's a fantastic goal.
Yay.
And it's something really that every learner is aiming for.
It really is that ultimate aim, isn't it? To speak English smoothly, naturally.
Effortlessly.
Yes. And understand everything much more easily.
Exactly. And it's so important, I think, to remember that fluency isn't like a switch you flip. It's not a destination you suddenly arrive at.
Good point.
It's much more like a journey,
Yeah.
a gradual process of building up your abilities over time.
Okay, so if it's a journey, what are the key directions, maybe? What are the main things we need to focus on to become more fluent?
Well, fluency really has two fundamental sides to it, I'd say. The first is what we can call consumption.
Consumption, okay.
Yeah. This is all about taking in English. So through listening and through reading.
Ah, I see. So it's like absorbing the language.
Precisely. Getting familiar with the sounds, the natural rhythm, the flow, all the different vocabulary. Just soaking it in.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. So things like, I don't know, watching English movies or listening to English music, that's consumption.
Exactly.
Ah.
That's all part of consumption. You're being exposed to the language constantly.
Got it. And the second side?
Right. The second crucial side is production.
Production. Okay, the opposite.
Kind of. It involves actively using the language.
Yeah.
So through speaking and writing.
Ah, okay. So this is where you put what you've learned into practice.
Exactly. Expressing your own thoughts, your own ideas,
Mhm.
and that's how you ultimately build your confidence.
So consumption is the input, like taking things in, and production is the output, putting things out there. I like that.
Yeah, it's a good way to think about it. Now, let's think a bit more about consumption. As you said, someone might watch loads of English films, listen to music.
Right. They're getting lots of exposure, soaking it all in like a sponge.
They are, absolutely. But think about it this way. It's a bit like watching, say, a cooking show over and over again,
Okay.
but never actually trying to cook the recipes yourself.
Yeah.
You might pick up some cool ideas, maybe some techniques,
Sure.
but you won't really become a skilled cook that way, will you? You actually need to get in the kitchen, grab the ingredients, and start cooking.
Ha! That's a really good analogy. Okay, so watching the cooking show is consumption.
Yeah.
And actually cooking, getting your hands dirty, that's production, even if it's messy at first.
Exactly. Even if it feels a bit challenging or not perfect initially, it's about taking those ingredients, the words, the grammar you've absorbed,
Yeah.
and making something new with them.
Right, your own creation.
Precisely. And just like cooking, the more you practice, the better you'll get.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, from your experience, what are some common mistakes or maybe pitfalls that people run into when they're trying to balance this consumption and production?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, one mistake I see quite often is learners focusing way too heavily on just one side.
Okay, like only consuming.
Exactly. Some learners get stuck in a loop of just reading textbooks, watching movies, great stuff, but they rarely, if ever, actually try to speak or write in English themselves.
Right, taking in loads of information but not really using it.
Precisely. Or on the flip side, you might have learners who try to jump into really complex conversations
Yeah.
without having built up a strong enough foundation in vocabulary and grammar first. And that, unfortunately, can lead to a lot of frustration.
Oh, I can imagine feeling like you just can't express yourself.
Exactly. So it's really about finding that sweet spot, that harmony between the two, where consumption feeds production and production reinforces consumption.
So it's not enough to just passively listen or read. You got to actively engage by speaking and writing too.
Absolutely. It's like learning, say, a musical instrument. You need to listen to music, sure. You need to understand the theory behind it, maybe. But then you absolutely must practice playing the instrument itself.
Right. You can't become a guitarist just by listening to the guitar solos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You really can't get good by only doing one or the other. They work together.
Okay. Now, earlier you mentioned something really interesting about pronunciation and listening skills being connected. That kind of stood out to me. Could you maybe elaborate on that a bit?
Oh, certainly. Yes. It might seem a bit counterintuitive, but actively working on your own pronunciation can significantly improve your ability to understand spoken English.
Really? How does that work?
Well, when you practice making the different sounds of English yourself, you become much more aware, more attuned to those specific sounds when you hear other people speaking.
That's fascinating. So it's like training your ear.
Exactly. Think of a musician again. They train their ear to distinguish different musical notes.
Yeah.
The more they practice identifying and playing those individual notes, the better they become at hearing them, even within a complex piece of music. It's a very similar idea with language.
Okay.
By consciously focusing on the building blocks of English pronunciation, the individual sounds, the stress patterns, the intonation, you're essentially sharpening your ability to hear and process those same elements when others are talking.
That's a really insightful way to put it. You're sort of fine-tuning your hearing, making your ears more sensitive to the nuances.
You've got it. Honing your ability to perceive the sounds accurately.
Okay, so we've covered consumption, production, and this link between pronunciation and listening. But gosh, there are so many techniques out there for learning English. What else have you found really beneficial for learners?
Well, one technique that I find surprisingly powerful, though it might sound a little odd at first,
Okay, I'm intrigued.
is the practice of narrating your life in English.
Narrating my life. You mean like talking to myself about what I'm doing?
Pretty much, yeah.
Now I'm walking to the fridge. I am opening the door. I see the milk. That.
Yeah.
It does sound a bit strange, I have to admit.
It might feel a little silly initially, I grant you that.
Yeah.
But think about the benefits. You're constantly immersing yourself in English, right in your own head.
Okay.
You're forcing yourself to think in English, to actively find the words to describe your actions, your surroundings,
Yeah.
whatever's happening.
So you're practicing vocabulary, grammar.
Yes. And even pronunciation, all in a very natural, spontaneous way.
Huh. It's like being your own English commentator, running a constant commentary track.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. And the more you do it, the more comfortable and natural it becomes to actually think and speak in English, even when you're not, sitting down to formally study.
I can see that. Now, speaking of thinking in English, I remember when I was learning another language, keeping a vocabulary journal was super helpful.
Ah, yes, the vocabulary diary or journal. Classic.
Every time I found a new word, I'd write it down, definition, maybe an example sentence. It felt so good when I could finally use a word I'd written down.
That's a fantastic technique, and it's still valuable for a very good reason. That feeling you described, that sense of accomplishment when you learn and then successfully use a new word, that's incredibly important in language learning.
Yeah, it keeps you going.
It keeps you motivated.
Yeah.
And it clearly shows your progress, which is also motivating.
Absolutely. And it's a great way to personalize your learning too, right? Focusing on words that are actually relevant to you and your interests.
Making the language your own.
Exactly. Making it relevant. Now, we've been talking a lot about techniques and strategies, which are obviously important.
Right.
But there's something else that's often overlooked, yet it's incredibly significant. And that's the mental side of language learning, your mindset.
Ah, yes. You're absolutely right. It's not just about what methods you use, is it? It's also about your whole approach, your attitude towards the learning process itself. Precisely. So how can learners cultivate that positive mental attitude, the kind that really supports their success?
Well, I think one key thing is shifting your focus from just relying on motivation, which can come and go,
Oh, definitely.
to really building discipline. Motivation is fickle. Some days you feel it, some days you don't.
So true.
But discipline is about consistency. It's about showing up and putting in the work even when you don't really feel like it.
Yes. Making English learning a regular habit, part of your daily routine, whether you're excited about it that day or not.
Exactly. Even if it's just 15 minutes on those off days.
That consistency is crucial. We've all had those days, haven't we?
Yeah.
When you just don't feel like studying.
Yeah.
But pushing through, even for a short time, makes a huge difference long term.
It really does. And another huge part of mindset is how you view mistakes.
Ah, yes. Mistakes.
They are absolutely going to happen in language learning. It's inevitable. But they aren't something to fear. Actually, they're incredibly valuable.
That's something I always stress. Mistakes are not failures. They are, in fact, opportunities, stepping stones on your path to fluency.
Exactly. They give you feedback. They show you exactly where you need to focus more attention. And the more you can accept making mistakes as just a normal part of learning, the less scared you'll be to actually speak and practice.
And that leads to faster progress.
Yeah,
Less fear equals more practice equals faster improvement.
precisely. It's about creating a safe space for yourself to experiment, not worrying about being perfect all the time.
Yes, letting go of that perfectionism. And another really vital aspect of mindset is simply believing in yourself, believing that you can actually achieve fluency.
It might sound a bit simple or cliche even, but it genuinely makes a massive difference.
It absolutely does. So it's not just the methods, the techniques, it's also your attitude, your fundamental belief in your own ability to learn and get better.
Right. Having what psychologists call a growth mindset, believing that your abilities aren't fixed, that you can develop them through dedication and hard work.
Yes. And celebrating your successes along the way is part of that too, no matter how small they seem.
Oh, definitely. Acknowledging your progress, seeing how far you've come, even if it's just mastering a tricky pronunciation, that can be incredibly motivating.
It really keeps the momentum going. Focus on the positive, on what you are achieving, rather than just dwelling on the errors or what you can't do yet.
Exactly. Okay, so we've got mindset, discipline, embracing mistakes, self-belief. Are there any other mental strategies that you found particularly useful, either personally or with students?
Yes, definitely. One strategy that I think is incredibly helpful is actively creating a supportive learning environment.
Surrounding yourself with the right people.
Exactly. People who encourage you, who celebrate your wins with you. It could be a language partner, a tutor, a good teacher.
Or even an online community, right? Lots of those around now.
Absolutely. Having that kind of support system can truly make a world of difference.
Yeah, it helps keep you accountable, keeps you motivated,
Connects you to your goals.
and just makes the whole process feel less lonely and more enjoyable.
That's so true. Language learning shouldn't feel like this solitary struggle.
Yeah.
It's much better when it's about connecting with others who share that passion, who can offer support and encouragement.
Yeah, building that positive, encouraging atmosphere where you feel okay experimenting, making mistakes, and celebrating the small victories. Okay, so we've touched on some really key areas: balancing consumption and production, the role of pronunciation, the power of mindset, supportive environments, but gosh, there's still so much more we could explore.
Absolutely. And we will. Let's take a short break, and when we come back, we can dive into some really specific strategies and techniques for boosting skills in speaking, listening, reading, and writing.
Sounds great. Welcome back, everyone, to the Learn and Talk English podcast. It's great to be back and continuing our pretty deep conversation about really mastering English.
Yes, it's fantastic to be back. We covered a lot of really important ground in the first part, didn't we? Talking about that vital balance between taking English in consumption and actively using it production.
We did. And we also looked at that maybe surprising link between working on your pronunciation and actually getting better at understanding spoken English.
Exactly. And of course, we spent some time on the power of mindset, developing that positive attitude, seeing mistakes as learning tools, and really believing you can reach fluency.
Right. And the benefit of creating a supportive network around you. So now I think it's time to get really practical. Yeah. Talk about some specific strategies listeners can start using right away to improve different skills.
Absolutely. Let's get into the nitty-gritty. So, where should we begin? Since we were just talking about production, how about we start with speaking?
Good idea. It's often the one people find most challenging, I think.
It often is, but it's also incredibly rewarding when you start to make progress.
Oh, definitely. That feeling when you have a real conversation in English and you feel understood, you feel connected, there's nothing quite like it.
Exactly. But speaking well takes practice. Often it means pushing yourself just a little bit outside your comfort zone. So what are some practical ways learners can get more speaking practice, especially if, they don't live in an English-speaking environment?
Well, that technique we mentioned earlier, narrating your life, I think it's worth mentioning again.
Ah, yes, the self-commentary.
Just talking to yourself in English about what you're doing, thinking, even when you're alone. It sounds weird, but it really does help you get comfortable thinking and forming sentences in English.
It really does. It turns everyday life into practice time. And if you want something more structured, thankfully there are loads of online platforms and apps now.
Oh, yeah. Loads.
They can connect you with other learners or even native speakers specifically for conversation practice.
Yes, those can be brilliant. They often offer a pretty safe, encouraging space to practice without feeling too judged or self-conscious.
Mm-hmm. And many offer different kinds of practice too, right? Like informal chats, maybe role-playing specific situations, even debates if you're up for it. So you can choose what suits you.
Absolutely. Now, another really important tip for speaking, I think, is to focus on using the vocabulary and grammar you already know.
Yes. Rather than getting totally stuck trying to learn absolutely everything all at once.
Exactly. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, isn't it? But it's usually much more effective to really master the basics first and then gradually build on that.
Completely agree. It's like trying to build a house, right?
Yeah.
You need a solid foundation before you start adding fancy decorations.
Good analogy. And that foundation in language is built through actually using it, speaking, writing.
Even with mistakes?
Yes. Even if it's not perfect.
Absolutely. Don't be afraid to make mistakes when you speak, please.
It's natural.
It's totally natural and actually essential. I often tell my students, mistakes are your friends. They show you exactly where you need to focus, and they help you learn and improve.
Yeah, embrace the mistakes, learn from them, and just keep practicing. Okay, let's switch gears. What about listening?
Ah, listening. So fundamental.
It really is the foundation of communication, isn't it? But it can be a real challenge for learners, different accents, fast speech, unfamiliar words.
It certainly can. Good listening comprehension is absolutely vital. And just like speaking, it takes practice and the right strategies. So, what are some effective ways to get better at understanding spoken English?
Well, one technique we touched on, which is really powerful, is called shadowing.
Yes, shadowing. Fantastic technique. Can you break down how it works again?
Sure. Basically, you listen to a recording, could be anything, someone speaking English,
Yeah.
and you try to repeat what they're saying almost at the same time, like their shadow or echo.
Right behind them.
Exactly. You really try to mimic their pronunciation, their intonation, that musical rise and fall of the voice and the rhythm of their speech.
Mm-hmm. By doing that actively, you're training your ear to catch those subtle details of spoken English. And at the same time, you're improving your own pronunciation and fluency. It's a great two-for-one deal.
It really is. And what kind of recordings work best for shadowing?
Honestly, almost anything. Podcasts, audiobooks, bits from movies or TV shows.
As long as it's interesting.
Yes, that's the key. Choose stuff you actually find interesting and engaging. That way, you'll be much more motivated to stick with it.
Makes sense. And another great way to boost listening, maybe more passive but still effective, is just immersion, right?
Absolutely. Just surrounding yourself with English as much as possible.
Yeah, making a conscious effort to listen whenever you can, English podcasts while commuting, movies in English in the evening, music.
Exactly. The more you expose yourself, the more comfortable you'll become with different accents, different speeds. And as your listening improves, you'll naturally find it easier to follow and join in conversations.
Totally. Okay, great advice for listening. Let's move on to another crucial skill, reading.
Ah, reading opens up whole worlds.
It really does. And it's fantastic for building vocabulary, understanding grammar better, and just improving your overall grasp of English.
So true. Reading is incredibly powerful. And just like with listening, it's crucial to choose stuff you actually want to read.
Yeah, finding books or articles you're genuinely interested in makes all the difference. So, besides picking enjoyable material, what else helps improve reading comprehension?
Well, that vocabulary diary we talked about earlier, it's great for reading too.
Right, jotting down new words as you find them.
Exactly. Write down the word, its definition, maybe an example sentence, showing how it was used in the text.
It makes you engage more actively with what you're reading.
It does. And don't be scared to look up words you don't know. That's part of learning. And as you read more and more, you'll start to notice patterns in the language.
Like how sentences are built?
Exactly. You'll develop a better intuitive feel for English grammar and sentence structure. It's like putting together a puzzle. The more pieces you get from reading vocabulary, grammar patterns, the clearer the whole picture becomes.
Yes, analogy. Okay, so we've done speaking, listening, reading. What about writing?
Writing, yes. Such an essential skill, both personally and professionally. Many learners really want to improve their writing.
Yeah, being able to write clearly is so important. It lets you express your ideas effectively, and it really helps solidify your understanding of grammar and vocab, too. So, any key tips for getting better at writing in English?
Well, one good suggestion is to practice writing in different styles and formats. Don't just write essays,
Right. Try other things.
Yeah. Try writing emails, maybe letters, blog posts, perhaps even short stories.
Oh, that's a great idea. Experimenting like that helps you develop a wider range of skills, makes you more adaptable.
Exactly. And another really important tip, focus on clarity and conciseness.
Keep it simple.
Pretty much. When writing in a second language, it's easy to get tangled up in really complex sentences or trying to use fancy, obscure words. But often, the best writing is just clear, simple, and direct.
Absolutely. Getting your message across easily is the main goal. And getting feedback is probably important too.
Oh, crucial. Don't hesitate to ask for feedback on your writing. From a teacher, a tutor, a native speaker friend, anyone who can give you constructive comments.
Yeah, that feedback helps you see where you can improve, spot recurring errors maybe.
Exactly. It gives you a different perspective and pinpoints where you can make your writing stronger.
Okay, so we've covered the 4 big skills: Speaking, listening, reading, writing. But it's worth remembering they're all connected, right?
Absolutely interconnected. They don't exist in separate boxes. They all work together.
Right. Improving one helps the others. Like, better listening probably makes you a better speaker.
Definitely. And reading widely expands your vocabulary, which helps your writing and speaking.
And writing helps you nail down grammar, which helps everything else.
Exactly. It's a holistic process. The more you practice and integrate all four skills, the more fluent and confident you'll become overall.
Well said. Now, I know we've covered a lot, but I feel like there's still more, especially for learners aiming higher. Are there other, maybe more advanced techniques or resources you'd recommend?
Oh, there are definitely more things to explore. And what works best really varies from person to person. But I think the key thing at the advanced level is moving beyond just memorizing rules or lists.
Okay.
It becomes more about really engaging with the language in meaningful, authentic ways, making it truly part of your life.
Connecting with it on a deeper level.
Exactly. Finding ways to use English that feel genuine and enjoyable for you.
That's a great point. But before we move into maybe some of those advanced ideas, let's revisit mindset quickly. We talked about mistakes, self-belief, support. Any other mental strategies that are particularly potent?
Yes. One I find incredibly powerful is visualization.
Visualization, like
Yeah.
picturing things.
Exactly. Actively imagining yourself speaking English fluently, confidently, effortlessly, creating a really vivid mental movie of yourself succeeding with the language.
Huh. That's interesting. It's like training your brain to believe it's possible.
Pretty much. And when you genuinely believe something is possible, you're much more likely to put in the effort and push through challenges, aren't you?
Yeah, I guess so. If you can see it in your mind.
Exactly. By visualizing success, you're planting that seed of possibility deep in your subconscious mind. It strengthens your resolve.
I like that, planting a seed of success. Now, another mental trick I've found useful is focusing on the benefits of learning English, not just the hard parts.
Oh, that's a fantastic point. Focusing on the positive outcomes.
Yeah. All the doors English can open, connecting with people globally, travel, career boosts, accessing more information.
Absolutely. When you keep those positive opportunities in mind, it really fuels your motivation and keeps you engaged, doesn't it?
It does. It reminds you why you started this journey in the first place.
Finding your personal why, that core reason you want to learn English. When that why is strong, it can help you overcome almost anything.
So true. It becomes your anchor, your motivation. Well, this has been so good. We've covered so much, from basic techniques to mindset strategies. But there's still more, right?
There is indeed. When we come back, let's dive into some of those more advanced challenges and resources. Things like tackling idioms, understanding different accents better, and really harnessing technology for learning.
Sounds great. I'm looking forward to exploring that next level. For now, though, let's leave our listeners with that thought. Believe in yourself, enjoy the journey, and keep exploring the amazing world of English.
Welcome back to the Learn and Talk English podcast. It's great to be diving back into our deep exploration of mastering English.
It really is amazing how much ground we've covered already, isn't it?
I know. We started with the basics, that crucial balance between consumption and production, taking English in and putting it out there.
Right, listening and reading versus speaking and writing, and how important both are.
Then we looked at practical strategies for improving each of those four key skills: speaking, listening, reading, writing, stressing that learners need to find what suits them best.
And woven through it all was that thread of mindset, believing in yourself, embracing mistakes, visualizing success.
Exactly. We've looked at the how-to, the skills and techniques, and the head game, the mental strategies that underpin success.
Definitely a holistic view. But as we mentioned before the break, there's still more territory to explore, especially for those aiming for really advanced proficiency.
That's right. So today, let's get into some of those more advanced techniques and resources, things that can really elevate your English, taking you towards a deeper, more nuanced mastery.
Okay, let's do it. Sounds exciting. Where do we start?
Excellent. Well, one area that often trips up even quite advanced learners is the huge variety of English accents.
Oh, yes, accents. That's a big one. English is spoken so differently around the world. UK, US, Australia, India, South Africa. So many variations in pronunciation, even words and grammar sometimes. It can feel pretty overwhelming.
It definitely can. You might be watching a British film and suddenly struggle with the accent, or listen to an Australian podcast and think, wait, is that even English? It happens.
I've been there. So how can we navigate this? How do we train our ears to understand these different ways of speaking?
That is the key question. What works?
Yeah.
Well, perhaps unsurprisingly, one of the most effective strategies is simply Exposure. Consistent exposure.
Just listening more.
Yes, but actively listening to a wide variety of different English accents. The more you hear them, the more your ear gets tuned in to the different sounds, the different intonation patterns, the rhythms.
So consciously seeking out variety, not just sticking to one accent you find easy.
Exactly. Immerse yourself in the diversity.
And like you said before, it's easier now than ever, right? With online resources.
So much easier. Movies, TV shows from different countries, podcasts with hosts from all over, audiobooks read by various narrators. You can even connect directly with native speakers from different regions online.
It really is like having the world's accents at your fingertips.
It is. And by actively engaging with this diversity, you don't just improve your listening comprehension across the board. You also develop a much richer, more sophisticated understanding of English as a global language.
Yeah, expanding your mental map of English, seeing all its different forms.
Precisely. Now, another challenge for advanced learners. Mastering idioms and slang.
Ah, yes, the tricky stuff. Idioms especially. Their meaning often isn't literal at all. You can't just add up the words.
Exactly. Break a leg doesn't mean, well,
Yeah.
it's like learning a secret code sometimes, figuring out these colorful, figurative expressions.
And slang changes so fast, too, and varies massively by region, age group.
Oh, definitely. An idiom common in the U.S. might be unheard of in the U.K. Slang your kids use might sound totally alien to you.
Happens all the time. So how do we learn these? Especially when they vary so much.
Good question. What's the best approach? Well, again, context is key. Pay close attention to how native speakers actually use them. When you're watching, listening, reading, notice the idioms and slang. Try to figure out the meaning from the situation.
Become a language detective.
Exactly. Look for clues in the conversation. Piece together the meaning.
I like that.
And also, don't be afraid to ask. If you hear an idiom or slang term you don't get, just politely ask the speaker, "Sorry, what does that mean?" Most people are happy to explain.
That's true. People usually appreciate the interest.
They do. And the more you expose yourself to authentic real-world English, the more comfortable you'll become with understanding and maybe even using idioms and slang yourself, appropriately, of course. It adds that extra layer of naturalness.
Makes your English sound richer, more native-like.
Exactly. Now, beyond accents and idioms, what else can advanced learners do to refine their skills?
Good question. What else is there?
Well, something really helpful is actively practicing speaking in different situations.
Different situations. What do you mean? Like
Okay.
not just general conversation.
Right. Think about all the different contexts you might use English in. A formal work presentation is very different from ordering coffee, right?
Totally different.
Or casual chat with friends versus, say, negotiating a contract.
Yes, I see. Each needs different vocabulary, a different style, different formality.
Precisely. It's not just about general fluency. It's about contextual fluency.
Hmm.
Being able to adapt your English appropriately for the situation.
That's a really great point. So how do we practice that?
Well, role-playing can be fantastic here. With a language partner, a tutor, you can set up specific scenarios.
Like pretend you're in a job interview.
Exactly. Or making a complaint or giving instructions. Practice using the kind of language you'd need in that real situation. It's like rehearsing.
That's a brilliant idea. Practicing in a safe space builds the confidence to handle it for real.
It really does. Now, you mentioned technology earlier being a valuable asset. Can you expand on that? How can we leverage tech, especially at these more advanced stages?
Oh, absolutely. Technology has just transformed language learning. The sheer volume of resources. It's incredible.
It really is. Online dictionaries, grammar checkers, pronunciation guides, endless apps, even virtual reality.
A golden age for learners. And I think one key way to use tech is to create a truly personalized learning environment.
Personalization, yes, that's key.
Tailoring it to your specific needs, your goals, your learning style.
Exactly. Curating your own toolbox, choosing the resources that resonate with you. If you're visual, use apps with lots of images, videos. If you learn by listening, focus on podcasts, audiobooks. If you like doing things, maybe interactive games or VR.
Finding what sparks your interest and keeps you engaged.
That's the goal, making learning enjoyable and effective for you.
And technology is also amazing for connecting with other people, right? Building that community we talked about.
Absolutely. Online forums, language exchange sites, social media groups for English learners. It's a massive global network.
You can find practice partners, get advice, share experiences.
Exactly. Engaging with that community gives you practice, broadens your horizons. You learn about cultures. It's like opening a window to the world through English.
It really is. Now, as we kind of draw towards the end of this whole discussion, there's a question that might top up for dedicated learners. Is there ever a point where you can just stop, say, okay, I'm done learning English?
The am I there yet question. That's a really interesting one. Is fluency a final destination?
Yeah.
Honestly, I really believe language learning is a lifelong journey. Even when you're fluent enough for most situations, there's always more to discover, always room to refine.
So it's not really about reaching a finish line.
Not really. It's more about embracing the continuous process of learning and growth. Plus, language itself is always changing.
That's true. New words, new expressions pop up all the time.
Exactly. Language is alive, it evolves. And as you keep engaging with it, maybe reading more complex stuff, exploring dialects, learning specialized vocabulary, you'll keep finding new depths, new nuances. It's like exploring a huge, fascinating forest. There's always another path.
That's a lovely image.
And the more you keep learning, the more confident and skilled you become. You can express yourself more precisely, more creatively, connect with people worldwide on a deeper level. It's just a continually enriching journey.
I think that's a really wonderful and inspiring thought to end on.
I agree. It reminds us that learning a language isn't just about ticking a box. It's about constantly expanding our world, connecting with others, and enjoying the richness of communication.
Well said. This has been just brilliant, so insightful. We've covered so much, from basic techniques to advanced strategies, mindset, resources, everything.
It really has been a great discussion. I've enjoyed it.
Me too. And before we sign off, just a reminder to all our listeners, please do stay tuned for more episodes of the Learn and Talk English podcast. We've got plenty more helpful content planned to support your English journey.
Yes, please do. And if you found today's conversation helpful, we'd really appreciate it if you could give us a like or maybe subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss future episodes. Your support means a lot.
It really does.
Yeah.
So until next time, keep practicing, keep learning, and most importantly, keep talking English. Happy learning, everyone.